guess the title wasn't that good anyway. So, I was just thinking, you know, when you get to the point of knowing who Jesus Christ is and know who the Antichrist is, and the whore riding the beast, and the little horn, persecuting the saints, those saints that keep God and protect the commandments of Jehovah, and the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ. You get to a point where you get to, there's always deceptions, when you get to one level and another level, and just, there's just always people out there trying to deceive you. And it's kind of annoying and it's kind of tiring. Satan is putting, obstacles in front of you everywhere and leading you to, sometimes you are being led off and you find out, this wasn't good, this is, or you're just, using a lot of time trying to figure out what is the truth and what is, lies, because when you get to the point of knowing who the whore of Revelation is, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother whore of Rome, who rules over the kings of the world, and in regards of the Antichrist being, being the poo, and I think it's just stupid, because usually they do it, some of these things they do it on purpose, they want to have it noisy, and it's like, give me a break, give me a break, just, and it's really, it's really loud, and it's, well, welcome to my world, I guess, just hurting your ears, and it's unnecessary, but anyway, so getting back to the topic, getting disturbed by that. So when you get to the level where you know who the whore of Revelation is and the beast and so forth of the number 666, the man, the poo, the Roman emperor, the triune tyrant, the high priest, get that out, coming to that point. And it took me years, to get to, and a lot of reading in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation again and again and again and again. And in regards of the Protestant, finding out what a Protestant really is. A Protestant is a Christian that protests these, this wicked system and the man of the number 6 left. And it seems like we don't know much of our history. And I don't know much of the history and of what I've found, in regards of digging forward. And there are others, it's wonderful to see others out there actually digging for the truth as well. But it doesn't seem like that there's that many. In any case, and then you need to figure out also who is telling controlled opposition. So they can seem like they're attacking this wicked system of Roman Catholicism, of Romanism, what can you call it else? Papism. I think that's an English word still. Papism. It's not, or is it Danish? You have the papacy, papism. I think papism is an English word. I'm still learning and all that. But anyway, finding out in regards to the Protestants, that they protested this, this wicked system and the man, the Antichrist of the number 666. And it's like, why don't anyone know about these things? And actually, there's a huge amount of resources out there in regards of history that we just seem to have, that we have no knowledge of these things. It's like, how could we fall so long down in the deep hole, why does so few know who the Antichrist is, even Protestants, the religion of Christian Protestants, I was down, yes, maybe a little more than a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. So, so it's some time ago. Maybe it's less. At least it was still summer, so, and we're getting into the end of it and so forward. So, anyway, I went down there, and this was, different congregations of Lutherans in regards to the state church collecting together, and if they knew who the Antichrist was. And I didn't have a single one say, yeah, that's the Pope in Rome, I didn't have a single one, not one single one of a Protestant meeting group, and I didn't have one single person tell me, oh yeah, that's the, quickly, actually, so he knew, but he still, and this was an older guy and all that, and that was the guy that told me about this children's song that had been corrupted in Danish in regards of the a Lutheran song that was released in 1542 or around there, in regards of against the papacy and the Turks, which is the Mohammedans. But these are Lutherans. This is a quote. They're called. I might get that wrong. Well, anyway, so Martin Luther, one of his last books was from 1545, Against the Roman Papacy, an Institution of the Devil. And these, these so-called Protestants, how can you protest against someone you don't, know? Congregations are running back under the wings of the Antichrist. What is going on? It's just, and when you talk to the so-called priest, whatever you want to call them, they either run away or they try to make excuses. Now, of course, a lot of people actually make excuses and all that, but it's like, what are you talking about? It's like, so either they just run away, they asked about, well, what happens when we die and so forth. That was at the point where I was researching all these things, and I didn't know, and then he ran away, pretty quickly. Anyway, so yeah, and of course the Lutheran Church still have issues in regards to the cookie Jesus and so forth, and of course the Sunday and Christ Mass and Easter and all the other things. All the Christians should do what is found in the Bible, right? And not, celebrate the pagan New Year in the winter in regards of Janus, the false god Janus that looks in both directions, and shouldn't really in regards of pagan traditions of, Easter rabbits, leg egging, things, laying eggs, or Satan claws. They shouldn't really lots of these gnomes around, and of course, they also put this Christ Mass tree in the church. Of course, in regards of Christ Mass, you can also, in regards of, in Denmark, we call it Yule, and Yule, as far as I can see from the lexicon, is going back to Jölner, and Jölner is another word for Odin. Oh, Odin, yeah, that's one of these pagan gods. Look on that, because I had to turn it off last time. I felt I had to see it because so I can see it for myself, so I know what, but I just couldn't go on, bowing down and kissing first this little, child statue, and bowing, and then up to the, the altar thing, and there's a crucifix, and bowing down before that, and then over to this figure with of this bow cruise. Oh, give me a break. It was utterly disgusting. Now, of course, in regards of Christ Mass, going back to the sunbirth of the solar deity, of course, not really, a false god again, in regards of Sol Invictus, the unconquerable sun god. Solar god is because if you use sun in regards of, so that's much more differences in the Danish. Of course, in the Hebrew, there's also difference. There you have Shemesh, I think it is, for the sun, and then you have Ben for son. So again, for the the fleshy son. it's hard, So, but Shemesh for the the sun in the sky, and you have Ben in Hebrew, and the Hebrew is pretty much closer to the original, right? So he makes all these, what is it called? I can't remember what he's called, but give me a break. Anyway, so we have all these, also Sunday, which of course is not the last day of the week, but of course no one knows that either. It's like, Satan have just deceived the whole. It's just, I don't know what to do, because no one seems to want. Why not? It's like, oh yeah, the lexicon. Yeah. Let's see what the lexicon says. But apparently people don't want to do that either, Just, come on, just open a lexicon and look some of these things up instead of just, it's just... Anyway, it's very sad. It's very, very sad. But anyway, so the Protestants, we have pretty much totally forgotten the Protestant history. And there's so much interesting stuff. We have no clue who the enemy is. Well, of course, the enemy is Satan, and then we have his puppet in regards to the office of the papacy, the great toilet seat that the Antichrist sits on in regards of authority and dominion and power in regards to what Satan have given this guy, or this position, or this role, being the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and thinking to have, does he think he's the head of all the Christians, which of course he's not, because he's the Antichrist and we should just run from him. But besides that, he also thinks he's the head of all the world in spiritual matters. So that's all the pagan religions as well. So, and all the governments, of course, in the world. All the world, under his feet. Anyway, so... I don't know how, but different levels. I like using that term. It's like a computer game. You reach a new level that is you study, you research, you get more experience. You listen to Jesus. You then experience something that things where I'm like, what does Jesus mean here? What does Yeshua mean and all that? I'm like, and then I have an experience. I'm like, oh, that's what he meant by that. But anyway, when you can find out who Jesus Christ is, so you can't be deceived by the devil in regards of all the false versions that he had put out there. That old snake is very sneaky, and he has, put a lot of false versions of Jesus Christ out on the market. Now, the two versions that is most important to know about is the cookie Jesus. That's one of them. Formed like the sun, and that cookie becomes, according to them, the literal body, flesh, sinews, and soul of Jesus Christ. But not only that, not only does it become God, by the hands of the priest, but it also is sacrificed, or he is sacrificed, in the cookie Jesus, continual sacrifice of Jesus in the Roman Catholic whorehouses. Some also called it the synagogues of Satan, or the meeting houses of Satan. A synagogue is just a meeting house, where you meet up and all that on the Sabbath, of course, not on Sunday. You could, of course, meet on the first day of the week, the second day of the week, the third day of the week, the fourth day of the week, the sixth day of the week, and so forth. But it is and was the custom of our Sabbath day, set apart from the rest. Now, of course, you can do other, you could read the Bible on the Sabbath, be with your family reading, in regards to going to churches nowadays, you don't need to have a fine building and all that. You can just be with others and read the scriptures and all that. Many of these churches are just totally fallen in our days, It's very, well, I shouldn't even laugh. It's very sad, but I don't know. It's just incredible to lose all that truth. And how we're just, we don't know anything. We have lost so much. Anyway, so getting back to it, so the 7th day is on Saturday, in regards of the English, but it's actually from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, and of course the names of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because that's what people are accustomed to in the at the moment. But we can change that, We can change things, we just need to want to change it. Of course, the same in regards to the month and the Julian, Gregorian, pagan, satanic, sun calendar, and so forward. The Romish calendar that we're keeping. He thinks to change laws and times, or time, what Rome has done. Down through the, very beginning, very early on, the bad, poisonous seeds was already in the working thing in regards of corrupting things. You can check in regards of Easter and Passover. There was a conflict in regards of Rome and Asia Minor. And Asia Minor was the was the place, at least 200 years, I think, as far as I can see, where Rome kept them according to Easter, and those in Asia Minor kept it according to the biblical Passover. And I have some problems with the battery, apparently. But then you can follow the conflict already, where Polycarp is going to Rome to try to help them, get on the right track. And that doesn't really work. And that's in the second, I think it's in Rome to Asia Minor, because he wanted them to keep Easter, according to Roman traditions. And we have a wonderful letter writing back to him, which have 3 things that are wonderful, things that, helps us actually. But anyway, we have the return letter from Polygratus back to Bishop Victor. Another thing is that they didn't believe that they were going directly to heaven. They're talking about the saints that are sleeping, awaiting the resurrection. So that's another thing, because everybody believes that we are going directly to heaven when we die, or directly to hell. And again, the problem is using the word hell is that there are 2 entities, and people have a way of mixing it all together, and corrected on that point. I'm not saying that the King James Version is bad. Just saying there's a problem in regards of the words translated. But I've been talking about that before. I don't need to say it all again, do I? In regards of get a Bible program and check the word Sheol, or search on hell and find out what the word goes back to, and it goes back to Sheol, the word Sheol, which in Greek is Hades. And that word, Sheol, is translated into 3 different words in English. And And then you go to the New Testament, which is Greek, mostly Greek. We also have the Aramaic as well. But anyway, so we can, make some, but anyway. The problem is we have Gehenna is being cast into the lake of fire. These are 2 different entities. And people, Jesus didn't go to paradise when he died, people, this is another false, because they put the comma there, in regards of, he's saying, I'll tell you this very day, you shall be with me in paradise. He's not saying, hey, this very day you will be with me in paradise as well, in regards of his body, but his soul was going to Sheol, or Hades, or the realm of death, 3 days and 3 nights. He was in the earth 3 days and 3 nights. So anyway, there's different, just any case. And the third thing was that this, in regards of Passover, shows that they actually kept to the so-called, in regards of the Bible, it was in regards of Jehovah's feast days, appointed times, and so forward. It was not according to the Antichrist in Rome. So, And as far as I haven't, but I would think that as far as you can see, that they would probably have kept all of the Jewish festivals. But anyway, we also see in the 4th century where Chromoston Christ Mass, because those in Rome have kept the tradition of when Jesus was. So he's promoting Christ Mass because it's insane as a new tradition, and yet attacking the biblical festival, and he's very rough. There's eight lectures of it, and I read them all. 4th century. Oh, anyway, by the way, in regards of Passover and so forward, at the Council of Nicaea, there's still, these things are still in regards of struggle, but time seems to work for Satan. At the Council of Nicaea, if you read the last part of the document in regards of the Council of Nicaea, you can see, they're just happy, because we're now all in agreement of keeping the traditions of. Yeah, let's just all be in error and let's just be happy. Of course, not all was agreeing to that, and we can see in regards of Christendom in the 4th century, there are still people not really fond of going with the Antichrist on these things. Anyway, so or the bishop in Rome, whatever you want, 100. That's also where Mohammedans spring forward in the beginning of the 6th century and begins to spread and takes over half of the old pagan Roman kingdom, and we see the Roman emperor taking control of the other half, it seems. So you have a division of the old Roman pagan empire by the Mohammedans, and in regard of 1,000-year reign on earth by Jesus Christ. Very early on, they begin to attack this doctrine, like, it's Jewish fables or Jewish heresy or whatever. But we had some, and that's probably more, but there's a lot I haven't read and all that, but we really had some people that that was close to the resurrection, and then you have 1,000 years, and then you have the second resurrection, and then you have where the realm of death is being cast into the lake of fire with death as well, and then you have a new earth and a new heaven, or heavens, plural maybe, because the Hebrew is plural in regards of Shamayim, and thereby paradise is restored. So death is no more. To eternal death, where they perish and are no more forever and ever and forever. Where both body and soul is totally destroyed. Okay? So it's not like it's everlasting, as some people believe. It's like everlasting, no, it's, you perish. You have when you push an icon on the computer, right, to open a program, you put the spirit, you activate the program, and you have the body, in regards to the interface. And when you close the program again, when you push the thing there, you take the spirit out, it goes back to God. The code is still there, but it's not active. It's sleeping, okay? So anyway, that's the best, I guess, analogy or whatever, metaphor or parable, whatever, I can't remember. There's some differences in regards to these words, but I can't remember. But anyway, that's the best thing I can do for, we consist of spirit, body, and soul. When we die, the spirit returns to God, our body decomposes in Jesus or not, we are all going down for a while to sleep, awaiting resurrection to, when Jesus comes back or Yeshua comes back, to resurrection to either everlasting life or eternal damnation. Now, of course, there are two resurrections, and I'm not entirely sure when the Christians are going to be resurrected, if it's going to be the first resurrection or the second resurrection or so forward. So I'm still studying in regards of that area, but yeah. So anyway, getting back to when you get to the level, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic and all that. So when you get on the level of knowing who Jesus Christ is according to the New Testament, this is one of these wonderful New Testaments. This I bought these in leather. To if you use it a lot, they tend to break in the and the book of Revelation is one of the books you really read a lot, but sadly it's in the last part of the book, and thereby that's also where it begins to break. Because it's the last part of the. Anyway, so I bought some leather versions, and yeah, and I have some to give away as well. I usually have some in my bag. If he wanted to, if he wanted to read the New Testament, he said, "Well, I don't have a New Testament, but if I had, I would." I was like, "Whoopsie!" Well, you can have this. Anyway, so instead of all this extra, this is just an original New Testament, not anything in regards of material. The Seventh Adventists come with their own material. The Mormons come with their own material. Instead of just, hey, do you want the Bible? So they always come with their own books, it seems. That seems to be and I'm like, hey, I just want to read the Bible. I don't want to read all these. Well, of course, I did actually I was looking into in the beginning in regards to the Mormon book. I didn't know they actually would come by my with the book, with the flesh and the Son of God, which the Mohammedans the Mohammedan. Oh, that was in regards to the two versions. I never got into that. So the cookie Jesus is an important one to know in regards of what the Roman Catholics actually believe in regards to the priest making this cookie into God and sacrificing him again for the dead and the living. And they're allowed to worship the cookie. Worship creation. You are worshiping the devil, that old snake, the dragon, the deceiver, the liar, the murderer. You're not worshiping God. This is idolatry. Now, of course, there's many other things that Roman Catholics have of issue. But the big one seems to be that's the cookie. Just be aware of that when Roman Catholics are talking about Jesus, they're not necessarily talking about the same thing that you are. They might be thinking about the Eucharist, the cookie Jesus, they call it the host and the victim and so forward. Well, Jesus was the host and the victim, but it's not the cookie. Anyway, it's just Jesus was the perfect, spotless, sinless, past, and the Word was made flesh and walked among his own, and they killed him. The living bread was broken on the tree, and his wine poured out for the sins of the world once and for all. And what did he say? Do this in remembrance of me. So we break the bread and drink the wine to remember what he did once and for all. So they believe, they believe and they eat God. They eat their cookie God. And they worship it, bow before it, They put it in this monstrance, which, besides the cookie looking like, a sun, being sun-shaped, and if you go back in regards of paganism and Pontifex Maximus, you can see, for example, Constantine was the high priest of Maximus today. Well, that's the Roman Emperor, which is the Antichrist, the so-called Pope, as most know him by. I call him the Pope, but of course that's much more fitting, but anyway. In any case, and he has all the titles that the world likes to call him, and I must say, I like to use other words for that, But in any case, so, yeah. A-H-I or something, S-I-O-N. ISH, I think it is. And that's the same in regards to the Jesuits, which also have this sun thing around, and you see the I, the He, and the S, or ISH, I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't seem to actually, there's this, I saw this old thing that was, well, there was a little difference. They have their, what they tell the people and so forward, and then, but anyway, whatever. I can't really confirm that. So I haven't really confirmed that as of yet. But in any case, we have the round cookie, right? Okay. So what do they, which looks like the sun? What do they do with it? Well, they sometimes put this in this, walk around with it, and they're allowed to adore it and worship it, and well, it's idolatry, but anyway, and sometimes they apparently set it on the altar as well. So Catholics, Roman papists can come in and do their thing in regards of in front of the, the so-called God. Oh my. It's just outrageous. So that's one of the false versions, just be aware of that. Also the Eucharist and all that, and also that becomes that becomes Jesus, and you need to ask some questions. Now I've told you. Now you can go ask some Roman Catholic that and see what he tells you. Any case, then we have the Mohammedans, and they will also proclaim they believe in Jesus, and then of course you need to ask them, because oh, you also believe in Jesus? Yeah. We believe in Allah, and Allah has no son. You see, Jehovah in the Bible does have a son, yet the Mohammedan God does not have a son. So thereby Jesus is not the Son of God. And so if you ask a Mohammedan, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? They will say, oh, if they are honest anyway, but the truth, they might make some mistakes and so forward. But you have to try to figure out who is telling the truth. Even if they might make a mistake here and there and so forward, but who is actually going and looking for the truth and trying to tell you, the truth. And you have to discern in regards to who is not, who is actually trying to deceive you and lie to you and deceive you. And of course, because I think most of them would be honest and say, no, we don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, because Allah does not have a son. So just go, there should be Mohammedans around, just ask them, I have a question. Could I ask you a question, in regards of, religion of Muhammad, but anyway, and then just ask them some questions and see, they might get some, who knows, if they, next time a Mohammedan say we believe in Jesus, they don't really believe in Jesus. They believe in a made-up version, a fictive version of Jesus, of their own, false prophets' imagination and all that. So following Satan and all that. So anyway, so they don't believe that he's the Son of God, and they don't believe he's God. They don't believe he was executed on the tree. Even the as well, by the way. But they call him Yeshu. And it's an acronym for may his name be obliterated or blotted out and so forward. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not. What do you call it? I'm not against the Jews at all. I love Jews, but they do have issues for sure. They have Jewish mysticism and all that, and well, I'll not get into that because Jews are still a fairly small group compared to God and King and so forward, and. Executed him pretty much, forced the Romans to allow them to, execute him. And of course, well, it was Roman soldiers that did it and all that, but it was the Jews that forced the Romans to do it. Pilatus, what's it called, the Pilatus in English? Pilatus. He wanted to release him. Yep. Anyway, and he was, in any case. Just read the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And Matthew was the book that the Nazarenes used. So we have pretty much, in regards of authority of these four books, I would give the book of Matthew and the book of John the most authority in regards of these things, because the book of Matthew was the one that the Nazarenes used. So, and the Nazarenes was the first Christians, you know. The book of Matthew and the book of John, because the book of John is written by an apostle, and the book of Matthew as well. So you have these two. But anyway, you can read the book of Matthew, the book of Mark, the book of Luke, and the book of John. And it's about the same thing in regards of differences here and there, in regards of seeing it on different angles. But it's the same. It's in regards of the same thing. So it's one gospel in four books. You know, people like to say it's like four gospels. Well, there's only one gospel, but there are four books about the gospel. Yeah. Anyway, So another thing that, of course, the Mohammedans, if Mary was made pregnant by the Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God, who is the father of Jesus? Who is the father of Yeshua, or as you call him, Isa, but you know, his real Hebrew name, as far as I can see, is Yeshua. But we call him Jesus and so forward. But anyway, so who is the father of Jesus? If by the Holy Spirit, Mary was made pregnant, who is the father of Jesus? Well, of course, it's God. Man, it's just... Anyway. So, yeah. So you have the Father, and you have the Son, and you have the Holy Spirit, and just working together all through the Scriptures, from the very beginning to the very end of the Bible. And yet it's, you know, and they will reject that. And they say, oh, you know, in regards of Muhammad is found in the Bible. No, not really. No. Well, in regards of false prophets, yeah, that's true. But in regards of what, you know, where you point to one of the places where it's talking about the Holy Spirit and you say, oh, it's talking about Muhammad. You know, you people really should, you know, question these things. Just question it just a little bit, and maybe listen to those Christians that actually read the New Testament, you know, and yeah. Instead of listening to these false teachers of yours, you know, it's just following a false, blind Muhammad, and you're following after these, you know, it's Jesus that is the true light of this world. If you want to have light to guide you and truth, you have to come to Jesus Christ and not this false prophet. And you might get offended and blah, blah, blah and all that. And I don't really care, because the truth is the truth. And you could tell, you know, it's a loving thing to do, I think, to tell you the truth, because I could just, you know, not tell you. You know, yeah, I'm sitting here actually risking my life telling you that Muhammad was a false prophet, because you would, you know, it's like the chop religion, right? You know, chop. Anyway, it's very sad. You know, why would you kill people, you know? In regards of just telling you the truth. It's just, you know, it's disgusting. But anyway, in any case, I think it's pretty loving of me actually telling you the truth. The same thing with you Roman Catholics, by the way. It's not very loving not telling you the truth. And then some people will say, oh, you know, you will stir up the devils and people will get angry and so forth. Yeah, and they were angry at Jesus as well, you know, for telling the truth, you know. Anyway, so that is the two most important versions to know about. Yeah, I know my nails are on the late thing here. That's on purpose. It's nearing the end of the month, and I was looking to see if my nails if I could wait a month, so I can use it to a guide in regards of when, you know, also when, you know, having a custom of, you know, fixing my nails, but also having a way to look at my nails and say, oh, we are nearing the end of the month, you know, and the same thing with my hair and my. But I found out I need to do this twice in the month at least, because I have some itching issues and all that, and you know, this is very sad. I would have liked to have a big beard and you know, and hair and all that, but yeah, I just get issues in regards of it. It's just of course I have a lot of other health issues and all that. That was actually, you know, in some sense it was a blessing, in some sense, to get these issues. I would never have questioned, I think,
have questioned, what is there purpose to life? Yeah, those questions I began to ask. Is there purpose to life? Or is it worth living if I'm just, having these issues? And actually it began with one issue and then a second issue and a third issue and it's just taking over and I'm heading for the grave. Well, we all are we not? Anyway, in any case, but the easiest way is just to chop the hair and the beard off, at least for that issue. But anyways, back to the topic. Sorry, getting off topic here. So that was the two versions of the false versions of Jesus out there. I think that is the most important versions to know. Now there's a lot of other false versions out there. There's the Egyptian mystic Jesus in Egypt. There's the Guru Jesus in India. There's the Druid version from England. There is the Ascended Master Jesus, one of many. Then there's the so-called enlightened Jesus, like Muhammad and Buddha and others. Whatever. And all these satanic lies. The Jinn Jesus. And we have the Sun Cookie Jesus as well, of course, but we already took that. And there's other versions. There's, and it just keeps on continuing, and it seems to never stop. But the thing is, when you know who Jesus actually is, then it doesn't really, doesn't matter about the rest in some sense. Well, at least if you want to try to understand why the Mohammedans, and what they believe and so forward, and there's 1.8 billion Mohammedans, so there's a lot of people deceived by Muhammad. So if you want to learn a little in regards of what they actually believe, so you don't just get bitten off by deceptions from them. Of course, you would need to look a little into it. The same with the Roman Catholics. It's very, very deceptive. Both of these religions are very deceptive. Two sides of the same wicked coin, as far as I can see. But anyway, of course, Rome is the head. But and the Mohammedans would be the tail. But in any case. But you have so many things that is, two sides of the same coin. And you have 1.2 billion Catholics and 1.8 billion Mohammedans. So that's 3 billion people Satan already there has deceived. And when you then take the Buddhists and the Hindus and the atheists and all that, and you get to a pretty big number that Satan is deceiving in our days. And Satan doesn't want you to know the truth. So he's trying to keep it away from you. And, anyway. So, when you find out who Jesus Christ is, and then you find out in regards of the whore or the harlot of Revelation, in regards of mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother whore, which is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. And which city could that be? Which city was ruling over the kings of the earth in the times of John? Which city is ruling over the kings of the earth in our days? Well, Rome. It's that great city of Rome. And all the Protestants knew about it. And they also knew who the Antichrist was. And who is the Antichrist? The Roman Emperor. And who is the Roman Emperor? The so-called Pope. The Pope. His great smelliness. That unholy faker. That's the Antichrist. Who has what is it called? The crown, So we call him the Triune Tyrant. Because he's a great tyrant, a very prideful tyrant that wants to rule over the whole world. And of course, Scripture, talks about this, so it's moving forward in that direction in regards of, but anyway, And then we have the Jesuits, which is the soldiers. And it's like the pinnacle of the Roman soldiers who works in the dark. And they are, if you want to find one of the most, if not the most disgusting group of Roman Catholics, well, I think the Jesuits would be up there, if not, the greatest. But they have this, the Black General, which is also called the Black Pope, so-called Pope, the Black Pope, the shadow of the White Pope. Anyway, so you can look that up, our ancestors knew all these things. Those Protestants knew a huge amount of things we do not know today. Actually, we are totally oblivious to it. Yeah, it's incredible. They have really been effective, but of course with you have demons to help you, and when people are not interested in the truth and all that, and what have we done to ourselves, Why haven't people stood up for these things? Why don't people want to talk about it? Why are you getting, you're getting censored from every single angle if you talk about it, and people don't want to talk about it? And that was in regards about, when I was down at the beach with these Lutherans, These Lutherans should be Protestants, right? And not a single one of the one I asked knew it just like that, The only one guy that was an older guy that, and when you begin to give the pointers to help them in the right direction, and they don't want, just feel like, we don't want to talk to you, go away, or they go themselves, It's like, why wouldn't you want to talk about that? That's a very Protestant thing, because who are you protesting against if you don't know who the Antichrist is in the whole of Revelation? Huh? Are you then protesting? If you're actually running back under the wings of the Antichrist, are you then a Protestant anymore? Oh yeah, sounds like more like a Catholic, a Universalist, a Papist. This is insane world. It's utterly insane, this world. Anyway, so when you get to the point of knowing who the Antichrist is, the so-called, the Pope, and you understand who the Antichrist is, and the whore, and the little horn, the little Roman horn, speaking great words and understanding dark sayings, and so we should expect it to be a very clever horn, by the way, and persecuting the saints. And the saints, according to the book of Revelation, are those keeping, guarding, protecting the commandments of Jehovah and the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach, and it's, that was not word for word. I put some, in regards of, in regards to the word, it's protecting, and the word means, in regards to the word God, who keeps, keeps, in regards to the Hebrew, can also be like guarding or protecting and so forward. If you go to the Hebrew, you can see what the word means. So I've just fixed in that. So you have, and of course the name of Jehovah, that would be the name of God. So the name of God has been taken out of our Bibles, which is very, very dishonest, I think. And the Jehovah's Witnesses have put it in there, but they have other problems, like trying to write out the divinity of Jesus Christ. They have their own Bible versions. And I think it's pretty nice that they put the name in their version, but it's not so nice to try to write out the divinity of Jesus. So the Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that Jesus is God. They think it's actually blasphemy to think that Jesus is God. So anyway, so I've talked with Mormons, I've talked with, Jehovah's Witnesses, or false witnesses as I call them, and Seventh-day Adventists as well. And of those three groups, the Seventh Adventists is absolutely the closest, but they have some issues for sure. But anyway, as far as I can see, those three groups, the SDA, have most truth of these three groups. But they have, maybe also that might be, they had this weird doctrine of the closed stall thing, and, different other things that, Anyway, whatever. This little horn, the prophetical, the prophetical, biblical, historical Antichrist and all that, is the papacy. It's the papacy. It's the office of the papacy, which is the beast. As far as you can see, you have 7 heads, and he's one of the 7. We already have, we have 5 heads that have been at the time of John. You have the 6th head, and then the 7 was to come for a short while. Was it like, I can't remember if it was dukes or something like that. There's like a 7 coming after the, and then we have the 8, which is one of the 7. So one of the 7, but himself is the beast. The 8 is the beast, but one of the 7. And I think that would probably be the number 6 in regards of going back to Constantine and all that. But I still need more in regards of Roman history and all that. Each head, as far as I know, is a government type in some sense. You have the first is a kingdom, and you already have the Pontifex Maximus at that time. You have to remember the whore is riding all the 7 heads. She's riding all the 7 heads. She was already there long before Jesus was around. Well, that's not entirely, before he was revealed, before Jesus was made flesh, okay? She was already there at the conception and beginning of the Roman Empire, because she is sitting on all these 7 heads. And it's the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Anyway, so that's as far as I can see it, and if you look at the Protestants, they were, pretty much in agreement on who the whole Revelation was, and in regards to the Antichrist. So, because they were protesting, that's why they were called Protestants, Oh. We don't even know why they were called Protestants, right? It is the Protestant religion, and the Protestant religion in our days is in very, very bad shape. I would call it the Christian religion, because if you are actually, as a Christian studying the Bible and studying real history, you should come to the conclusion of who it is. And that might be why Rome did not want the people, or actually probably still don't want the people to read the Bible, because they will figure out that, wait a minute, there's something wrong with all these doctrines from Rome. The problem is it's not really in the Bible. Anyway, so Luther wanted people to read the Bible. When people say that Luther and the popes or the poops are the same, I have to differ. Luther did have his issues for sure, but in regards of Luther wanted the people to read the Bible. He's writing in his late years. If even he would rather have that people was reading the Bible, and that all of his books and all his writings would be destroyed, as long as the people would be reading the Bible. He wanted the people to read the Bible. That is pretty much totally opposite what the popes have wanted down the ages. They did not want the people to read the Bible, because when they began to read the Bible, there was huge amount of fingers pointing to Rome, saying, I don't think we should listen to this guy, this prideful guy in white, and all this gold and silver and whatever, the scriptures talks about him actually being the Antichrist. You see, the 4th beast is Roman in the book of Daniel. You have You have the Babylonian beast, you have the Medo-Persian beast, you have the Greek beast, and then you have the fourth beast, which is the Roman beast. And from this Roman beast is 3 horns chopped off and grows out a little horn. Could it be in regards to the Vatican, Rome? Anyway, that little horn are persecuting the saints. Now, who have been persecuting the Christians for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years? I think that would be Rome, right? I don't think there's any contender at all that gets close in any way to the river of blood that Rome has pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So when you get to that level and get that understanding and finding out, regards of huge, a huge amount of Protestant sources talking about these things because they knew, and they had differences in doctrines here and there and so forth from different groups, but it was and is the Protestant religion. And again, I think, the Christian Protestant religion, Christian Protestant religion, because, as a Christian, you will end up, protesting this system because you're either going to accept that this system has the authority to change God's law and this and that, or you're going to protest. Finding out, we have a problem, Houston. The fourth beast is going to just be destroyed when Jesus comes. And, so that's still future. So if that is future, then Rome should still be in control. And it is. So anyway, then some believe that in regards of one of the heads was wounded and so forward. Some believe that happened. I can't remember the details on that in regards of the years and so forward. But anyway, whatever. But anyway, when you get to that level and begin to get understanding of that, and who's that, then you need to find out who is speaking the truth out there, because there are people that are honestly out there trying to, awaken people and trying to tell them truth about history, the Bible, and so forward. But then you also have the wolves in sheep clothing, because they are found on every single level, and then of course those people that might just have been deceived by one of these, as I have been as well. I was deceived in regards of Mohammedanism, believing that was the. I found out he was a Roman Catholic later on, and of course that makes total sense, because, it needs to point to something else than what he is actually, part of. But beginning to open up in regards of these things, then you get to this level, and again, you have, if you read the Jesuit Oath, it talks about that, be a Protestant for a Protestant, or, a Calvinist for a Calvinist, or a Huguenot for a Huguenot, and so forward, and it continues with these, and even go so far to be a disgusting Jew, something like that. Maybe that's not the word, but even go so low as a Jew for a Jew, to gather information and this and that, and and even be so, they can deceive others, to go against the so-called holy religion and the so-called holy pope. If you wanted word for word and all that, go look the Jesuit Oath up and read it. I'm trying to do it from my memory here, so there might be some, but Of course, I could look it up myself, but just put it in the Google and Jesuit oath and read it for yourself. But anyway, so they have this way of being deceptive, being a Protestant for a Protestant, so they might, proclaim themselves Protestants of many different kinds, and actually also speak very viciously against the so-called holy religion of theirs, even if they're actually part of it, and also against the Pope, or the so-called Pope, and yet just be controlled opposition. So when you get to that level, they have just placed their wolves in sheep clothing on every single level. It's just deceptive all the way. Satan is trying to make issues for you. Now, of course, in regards to these wolf in sheep clothing that goes out there, and they might actually tell a lot of truth. And why would they tell truth? Well, because if they were just telling lies, you would pretty much would easily be able to discount them. So you can also you just have to eat the meat and spit out the bones, which can be a very hard thing to do. You grow, of course, but it's there's a lot of things where it's like where, for example, if you're listening to history and people knowing history and all that, where you might not yourself know much about in regards of the history, in regards of course you can still use the Bible to guide you in regards of does this sound but anyway, yeah, it's hard. Because you really want to find others that are on that same level looking for truth. They might make mistakes, yeah. They might be on the wrong track on some of the things and all that. But just in regards of looking for truth and trying that to their best ability, to tell the truth, And that's kind of hard as well, because you then have people out there that might make mistakes but is trying the best that they can do to tell you the truth, and then you have others people telling you some truth yet on purpose also mixing it with lies and trying to make havoc in regards of being an infiltrator and making issues from the inside. So it's I guess the more people that begins to stand for truth and all that, the harder it becomes for the enemy, I would think. But the problem is there's not that many Protestants anymore, it seems. And it seems like people are not interested in knowing about the Antichrist, or it's like this ecumenical satanic game of leading people back to Rome. Why are they not speaking against Rome? It's insane. It seems like every congregation has been infiltrated, and it might actually be likely so that they are. If we look at, I have a newspaper thing in regards of, the priest in the Danish churches, that I think it was 1/3 or something like that of the priests in Denmark that are Freemasons. Well, Freemason is Satanism. How can you be a priest and be a Freemason at the same time? It's and if you go look in regards to that, Freemason, as far as I can see, goes back to Rome. Now on the lower levels, and in regards of the, what shall we say, the lesser learned, those on the lower, they might believe that Roman Catholicism and Freemasonry is against each other, which it might be on the lower levels, but on the top, it's, going back to Rome. Yeah. So it's so many deceptions out there, and we were told not to take an oath. And what do you do when you become a Freemason, huh? You take one oath after another. You know, if you are a priest, you should have been reading your Bible and you should have remembered the words of Jesus and, you know, saying that you shouldn't take an oath. And already there, no, you know, reject it. You know, already there you should have rejected it, you know. But no. I might be wrong in regards to 1/3, but I think it was around 1/3 or something like that. And that was an older article, so who knows how many is there today. It hasn't been really going forward in regards to truth. It has pretty much gone downhill, so there might be more. It's kind of interesting how they're just opening up and telling people about these things, you know? You know, they have this doctrine in the Freemason lodges apparently in Denmark that some of the things they need a priest for doing. Oh, that's a way to get, you know. And the problem is the priest, you know, look at that, how they, you know, just corrupt, because the priest should stand for the truth, stand on the podium and talk against Rome and, you know, and tell the people what is really in the Bible and so forward, and not keeping Christmas and Easter and Sunday, you know, and, you know, pagan New Year's, celebrating the pagan New Year. Do you find that in the Bible? Nope. You'll find the New Year in the spring. Now, of course, the Jews keep it at fall, but they, you know, are wrong as, you know. Some things the Jews have correct and some things they don't, you know. But in regards of the New Year, they have that incorrect. And I actually have, you know, some images as well from the what is called, the museum in Jerusalem. And that's a gigantic place. You can pretty much just get lost in that place. And there was a lot of things that was filthy, you know, idols and, you know, disgusting things, you know. But there was also the Roman section, and you know, there's this big thing in regards to Jerusalem from the year 68, I think it was, or something like that. Replicate in regards to Jerusalem. I used a lot of time on that as well. You know, trying to get a little accustomed to more of these things. Yeah. That was also in regards to the Egyptian thing, but if I remember correctly, there was like, you know, they didn't even believe that the Israelites had, it seems like I can't remember. You know, I have some images, I probably took some images from that section as well. You know, you're allowed to take images on it, and so that was, I don't know why you were not allowed to take images at, well, actually a lot of places. Which actually, you know, in regards of the Holocaust, you know, I would have thought that the Jews would have liked the information about the Holocaust to get out, you know, so I would have thought it would have been a positive thing if someone were taking images and putting it out on the internet and so forward and talking about it, and, you know, but apparently you're not allowed to take pictures, and I just feel it just seems kind of weird, you know. You know, I would have thought they would have liked that information to get out to the world. So if they can get someone that actually goes on the museum, which is actually, it's free, by the way, as long as you don't need voice. If you need voice, it costs a little. I think it's 20 shekels to borrow or something like that. But there's a Danish section, by the way, as well, with a, you know, a fisher boat. But anyway, well, I can't remember how many hours it was. It was like 14 hours or something like that of material you can listen to. So you can really get deep in the Holocaust and all that, and at some point probably break down. Yeah, at some point I think it will get to a person. You know, I thought it wouldn't get to me, but yeah, it did. It hit, you know. Anyway, so anyway, getting back to so that was, you know, one have to be careful all the time, and it's just in regards of the information and all that, and yeah, it's annoying. It's sad. And of course, when people are talking something, but sometimes it's just, some of the information might actually just be going over your head, and you haven't the possibility to really, I remember Alberto Rivera, where I read the cartoons of Alberto Rivera, and a huge amount at that point, that was in the beginning still of my, becoming Christian and all that. And there were so many things that I did, not know about the Roman Catholic religion and all that. And a lot of the things that Alberto is talking about just went straight over my head. I had no way of, in some of his claims was just extraordinary. The problem, of course, is when you find out that he was telling the truth in a lot of things, when you begin to verify a lot of the things that he says, that's... now, he might not have gotten all of the things right, but he was, when you then see the people that also attack him, for not being a priest or not being a Jesuit and all that, some of these attackers are saying, yeah, it's true that, the whore is, in regards to Rome, and the Antichrist is, the Pope and all that. And yeah, so they are saying, yeah, he that's true and so forward, but then the conspiracies that's or that he wasn't a priest and this and that, whatever the case, that guy had a lot of truth, and there might be some things that are not that he. The question is, was he trying to the best of his ability to tell the truth? And I think that there might be a real possibility for that. I think he was sincere. But of course, I can't really talk to him, and I can't call him up or something like that because he's not here anymore. But he was at least attacked from many different angles. And it seems a little hard to get all the information, and but there are books here and there written against him and for him and so forward. But when you make a claim in regards of Nazism going back to Rome, and when you begin to look into it and actually find out that's true, well, that's pretty incredible, I think, because how would he know that? Because apparently it seems to be something that a very, very few people actually knows about, and actually maybe even only know about because they have, been guided in that direction by Alberto Rivera. So we have a Roman Catholic that actually wrote a book. He got access to the Vatican Library and found out that there was some big issues, and he has also been attacked, and he's a Roman Catholic. I'm not sure if he still lives or if he's still a Roman Catholic, but in the they're having a talk with him, or it's an interview with him. And he's talking about all these things, and getting access to, he's a historian, and he's getting access to the Vatican Library and finding out about all these things and writing a book about it and all that. But then he tries to, even if he have found out these things, he's still a Roman Catholic. Explaining it off like Roman Catholics are really good at and all that. But as far as I can see, he has been attacked from a lot of angles as well, trying to say no, it's not true, this and that in regard. But well, how many of you guys got access to the Vatican library like he did in regards of these documents? How many of you that attack this guy, the so-called real historians that attacks him? How many of you have had access to the Vatican Library? How many of you? How many? Because he had. He was allowed. And he wrote a book about it. And, even if he's a Roman Catholic, he seems to have been pretty honest about that. Anyway, so yeah. So yeah. But anyway, you have a lot of other things in regards of Nazism. Hitler was a good Roman Catholic. He was grown up as a Catholic. His parents was Catholics. A lot of the higher level Nazis was Catholics. It's just yeah. So, and Hitler was in good standing with the Roman Catholic Church until his alleged death. So, he wasn't excommunicated from the church. He was still in good standing. Anyway. And then, of course, you have the symbols. You have the symbols of the Nazi Reich, I guess it's called, Nazi Reich, okay? And then you have, in regards to, for example, the flag. If you know a little about the cookie Jesus, what is on the flag? What is on the flag? Well, cookie. The Catholic cookie. What is in the middle? What is inside the cookie? A symbol. What does that symbol represent? The sun. If you know a little about, the pagan religion of Rome, sun worship, then you have the Roman eagle as well. You have the Knights of Malta symbols, I think it is as well. You have a whole video on that as well. And then you have, and of course, Knights of Malta is what? Well, Knights of Rome. It's like Knights of Columbus as well, and all that, all that bullshit, And all roads leads to Rome. Come on, people. Anyway, what do you have more? You have a lot more. You can do your own digging into it, But it's everywhere. Then you have a stamp with in regards of Mussolini on one side with the what is it called? Well, there's an axe in the middle and all that. Oh, I can't remember. And then the other where you have the eagle, the Roman eagle with Hitler and so forward. Then you have the Nazi belt. What is that? Where it says God is with us. God ist uns mit or something. God uns mit. I can't remember. You can look it up. There are many pictures of these belts, Yeah. And then, of course, you have the Bekennende Kirche. In English, that would be the Confessing Church, I think. And I saw this, this professor talking about it. Now he didn't believe that, it didn't sound like he believed that the Antichrist was, the Pope. But he's talking about these people in regards of the Bekennende Kirche, the Confessing Church, and that was like that they remembered. Wait, wasn't the Pope actually the Antichrist? And I'm like, why would they get to that conclusion in regards of these Germans? Not wanting to get together with the Reich Church, the state church of Hitler. Why would they conclude, wait, wasn't there something in regards of the Pope being the Antichrist? Why would they link that together? Well, maybe because there was some link in regards of... So that's, one of these other, things. So, and you find so many, Actually, it seems like World War II was actually controlled on both sides. As disgusting as that may sound, and as unbelievable as it actually may sound, that actually seems to be the direction it seems to be. And that's very sad. And of course, that would just verify a lot of the claims of Alberto Rivera in regards of Nazism going back to Rome, communism going back to Rome, Mohammedanism going back to Rome, and the mafia going back to Rome, and all these things going all going back to Rome. And of course, in regards of, you have other things in regards of what is South America, where they mix, you see they mix the Roman Catholic religion and, the voodoo thing and all that. Anyway, and of course Rome doesn't really care as long as she has the power and the control. So, and we can also see the videos of this filthy system where they're talking about, oh, I believe in God, and she believes in God, and that believe, the Mohammedan believe in God, the Hindu believe in God, and or the Buddhists believe in God, and the Catholic believe in God, and so forward, and we all believe in love, and so forward. Well, that's not really the gospel, is it? Jesus said that he was the only way. All these people are lost without Jesus. And you say, oh yeah, let's come all together. And of course, and have the Pope as the head, of course. Because he's the high priest of paganism. Anyway. So, but I guess I have been getting closer over the years. It has been a long struggle, I guess, to find out what is actually going on. And I have only just, the tip of the iceberg. It's like, there are so much more. But the thing is, you find these people out there, and they're telling a lot of truth and all that, and they are proclaiming the Antichrist to be Antichrist, the Pope to be Antichrist, and they're proclaiming the whore to be the whore of Revelation in regards of Rome and so forward. So they're pointing in the right direction. But then again, you have to remember again that there are people out there trying to seek the truth honestly that might make mistakes, and then you have the wolves in sheep clothing that might actually provide truth, yet might also put some deception in it on purpose, or might make obstructions by other ways or whatever. It's really it doesn't really make it easier. It doesn't really make it. Anyway, I think I've found some pretty good sources, but I'm still trying to, find some. But for example, what is it called? I have this guy that is just, I think that must be the guy that I have, that seems to be, providing so much goodies. And actually, there's more, of course, but there's like what is it called? Tom. Was it called Tom or something like that? Let's see. I actually have videos on. Let's see if we have. I just need to get some water unloaded. I'll be right back. It was some what do you call it? Somewhat pressing. Still continuing here. I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Took a while. Oh well, I just had to go, It was somewhat pressing in regards of, I've been drinking too much, I guess, in regards of the weather being so warm and so forward. At least I know I have. I think I've gotten enough, water at least. So anyway, so I have this guy, for example. He is pretty, awesome, I think. Internal storage, and it seems like I'm being led into more of this goodie, it's pretty good. Let's see here. Internal storage. Don't have that much storage. Let's see what he's called. I have him down here. Videoda. Yeah, it's the Android stupidity not being able to actually just put it on the SD in a folder that you want, because of Google crazy, but of course probably also owned by these it's all things seems to go back to Rome, and Google is a big company, so who knows. Anyway, Tom Friess. Tom Friess has a lot of goody, and he seems to be pretty on the spot. Some things here and there but again, you eat the meat and spit out the bones. I think Tom Friess is, I think he's pretty good. And he has some great material for sure in regards of history. He's reading history books, old Protestant books, and so forward. Some of it is just gold. I still have some. I saved some of the things from another where it was like these different congregations of Protestants was having that declaration in regards of the Antichrist and the whole Revelation, and just one after another. It's like, So I was actually listening to one as well that had some good information, but yeah, that's. Well, anyway, they all have some information here and there that is. But yeah, actually in this one there was some good information in regards of the kings of England when they needed to, or the highest authority in regards. I guess a queen might also be, I don't know, in regards of. But anyway, that they were rejecting the Eucharist. They were rejecting that this cookie. They knew about these things, and we don't know about these things. When the Catholics come and say, "Oh, we are pretty much the same," and this and that, that's pretty much bullshit and deception and lies. Are very ignorant, that's for sure. Because again, the Roman Catholics are thinking the cookie. When they talk about Jesus, if you didn't know about it, that can sound very, very, very Christian, and yet they are thinking cookie. Anyway, you can ask them in regards of of the cookie Jesus, and we talked about that as well. If you want the best Bible program, by the way, for the mobile, for Android, this is the best mobile program. My Sword Bible. I haven't really been using it that much lately, which is, I guess there's a lot of other things to research, and I just have documents all over, and it's pretty much trying to figure out here and there and so forward, and getting closer to being able to discern this and that, and figuring out what is actually happening in history. But huge amount of things that we have totally not been told. Then we have Ant Bible, that's free, open source, I think. Bishop as well, and Bible Time Mobile as well is free, open source. Sepharia I have because that's the Targums. I don't think they have translated all the Targums into English, so that's just just some extra. That's other filthy Jewish stuff in regards of these mystical things and all that. The Jews actually keeps the right day in regards to the Sabbath. So if you actually go to the Jews, you can figure out when the seventh day is just by looking at the Jews. But they have a thing of inviting a feminine spirit into the household at the beginning. I wouldn't suggest that. I would absolutely not suggest inviting a feminine spirit into your, home, and that's the woman, closing the eyes and lighting candles and blah 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 and so forward. No, don't do that. They have this Shekinah thing in regards of, this consort of God or whatever. That's a while since I actually did studies on it and all that, but you can research these things all your life, and you probably haven't seen everything at that point, and the question is, what do you then want to do? Do you want to, just keep focus on the truth, or do you want to research all these falsehood, right? Of course, the Roman Catholics have these different so-called saints that they also pray to. That's another problem that they have. Actually, the Jews have the same issue, but that's so-called rabbis that they, pray to. So I was told by, Nehemiah Gordon that actually the Catholics got it from the Jews and not the other way around. So anyway, but of course, that doesn't make it any better. But I don't think it actually was, trying to make it better. But anyway, and I've seen that with my own eyes. I just actually, it's strange sometimes. Maybe it's, when you listen on something and then, the next day, I never heard about this in regard to the Jews. And the next day I heard about it, the next very day I saw it with my own eyes. It's like, what a coincidence, And sometimes these coincidences are like, it's like, that's interesting, Anyway, well, you just have one coincidence after another, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, and of course, the Roman Catholics have this so-called Mary, and the Jews seem to have this Shekinah, and different. And of course, if one wants to go directly to finding out in regards to these Jewish things, there is a book called Jerusalem. I have it on my Amazon if it haven't been deleted. Sometimes these Amazon delete if, but it's a book on this size or something like that in paper. And what was it called? Jerusalem. Was it called Jerusalem Hotel? No. I can't remember. Any case, it doesn't. Go to the Bible instead. And quit all this stupidity. But you have a way when you talk to people that they will try to not really tell you anything. You have to show people that you actually know anything about it before, and that can actually open up for more information. But if you don't really, break the shell in some sense, they will probably not really tell you in any way. So you have to, dig into it in some sense. But of course, a book doesn't really do that. So a book doesn't really, you could just, just have it laid out in the book. Anyway. So I guess that's pretty much it. I don't really know what I have. Of course, there's also Jörg as well. He's called Joggler 66. I really don't know why he took the Joggler 66. I guess it's because there's 66 books in the Bible, in the Protestant Bible. But I wouldn't have picked that for myself, that's for sure. But anyway, he's also reading, all Protestant books and so forward. Different books that are interested in as well. And we see, it seems like Tom Fresh they have this, or maybe I actually have it open in my browser. They have this, see if we can find it. Yeah, it's called firstamendmentradio.net. And they seem to be having some pretty good, I think you need to pay to get access to the resource, but I think they have a YouTube where you can just listen to their things for free. And there's apparently also a phone number, and there's a chat, if I remember correctly, over here someplace. But they seem to have some pretty good material as well. And Tom Fresh is, wonderful, I think. Actually, Rulers of Evil. I don't know in regards to this saucy guy, what is it called, Topper Saucy, but this, some of the things just sounded really. Anyway, again, that's the problem, trying to figure, growing, and that's, yeah. But again, there's some great material, and you can find it free on YouTube. You don't need to. I haven't paid for anything in here. I was thinking about, paying a little so I can get access to the archives. I want some material that have some substance. The television doesn't really have any. Just fun things. Doesn't really tell you anything about these things. Inquisition update. Okay. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. He's a Catholic, if I remember correctly. Not to say that that one should discount everything he says, but just be aware that he's a Roman Catholic. He has some. I've tried his vitamin thing and all that, but just be aware he's a Roman Catholic. If I remember correctly, Key to the Apocalypse, Inquisition update. The protest is not over. Yeah. But I think Tom Fresh is really. He knows he knows a lot of things, that's for sure. I think that's so I think it's very interesting to listen. When he are reading Protestant books, and then he has some things, and the same thing with Jörg as well. Jörg does it, Joggler 66. He can be found on YouTube as well. He also have books, and he, for example. Both of them read the book of Against the Roman Papacy and Institution of the Devil from Martin Luther from 1545. And I listened to both of them. Now it's many, many, many hours, but, and then you get there are a few things on the way as well, besides the book of Luther. And other books and so forward. But I think that's, at least that's where I am at the moment in regards of listening to information here and there. And I think they have some really good stuff. And I think Tom Fresh is just, he's wonderful. And again, there might be things that I don't agree with here and there and, so forward. But I think he's truthfully trying the best that he can, so. And we are all trying to, at least, we're trying to get more truth. I mean, trying to, that should be the way, trying to figure out things. And I guess I'm pretty dry on things at the moment. Greg Szymanski also I've listened to. I do have some questions for him in regards of this. Was Jesus a story or a myth? But a lot of his articles apparently on his website is not found anymore on his website. Not sure what is going on in regards to that, but I was kind of disturbed when I saw this article from 2012 where he's actually talking, he's even linking to some of these fiction things in regards to Jesus and another guy that was pretty popular at some point, and but besides that, he seems to be someone that looks for and exposes the Roman Catholic system as well. That seems to be his and I think he was a former Roman Catholic. Not sure if he has renounced it totally, or if he. I don't know. It would be nice to have an email to try to write to him, and. But again, it seems something has happened to his website. So as you can see, I've used a time machine to get back to, to look at this article that was broken. But his website is kind of, not that much information on it, and so I'm not sure what is going on with that. Would be nice again to be able to get a hold of him, but he still have the commercial of freedom of speech, press, thought, and religion. I've also heard in regards to Eric Phelps, and Eric Phelps also have a lot of good things, but I do wonder in regards of the, it seems like he is accusing some of these guys on this place for being, Jesuit something. That's the thing, you get up to these people and the question is who is truthfully and who is not, and so forward. Anyway, so actually this is from 2016, so the website was still up in 2016 with this article. I wonder how if I can even go to 2017. But in any case, it seems like all his articles are not on his website anymore. I can only find a few articles. Then of course we have in regards of Alberto Rivera. I was looking in regards of Greg. Greg did had a talk with Alberto Rivera's wife after his death. Sadly, I have not been able to find that interview on YouTube or any other place. They might actually have it on one of these pay sources. But it's not like I don't have that many resources, but it's probably, if it's only $15, I should be able to, I'll see if, as I understand it, you get access to the library of things and all that, and that would be very nice. And be able to download some of the things, and at least it's a lot better than listening to the crap that is from the radio, that's for sure. Talking about, people talking about who the Antichrist is, and, in regards of Protestant history and all that, love that. Now I'm still looking into in regards of one of the things that Alberto talked about was that Mohammedanism was created by Rome in regards of Muhammad, and wouldn't really be a surprise. And looking at Mohammedanism, you see a lot of things that actually, but that was what Alberto said, and it's when you see some of the other claims that he made, that was extraordinary, and you find out that it's actually true. Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if, Anyway. More about. Here we have the Antichrist kissing the Quran, and you can just search on Google on that. But he's kissing a Quran. I talked to one of the Catholics about that. He was like, it wasn't that good, and so forward. It's like, nah. Why would the head of the so-called head of Christianity kiss a book that rejects Jesus Christ as as God and the Son of God? Anyway, I'll stop now. I think I don't really have much more. It seems a little low water here in regards of it. But you can see how they, how they have censored stuff here and there. I begin to see a pattern, and Haley's Bible book, where they removed the whole chapter of church history. And that was Billy Graham that bought the rights to Haley's Bible book. I think it's called something like that. And just remove the whole chapter of church history. And then you see in regards of Keith Green, which was a Jew that became a believer, and after his death in a flying accident, or maybe actually it was sabotage of the plane. We have a source that talks about, I think it was the CIA, they said or this source talks about that, she and, in regards to the CIA, I think it was the CIA, that sabotaged the plane. And but anyway, so he died in a flying accident. We have another guy that died in a flying accident. We actually have more than, but in any case, the problem is, of course, is to actually verify if it was actually, murder and so. But anyway, after he died, it seems like they might have had, the Jesuits might have had contact with his wife. At least the ministry stopped printing the Catholic Chronicles, and I saw a letter, responding to someone and all that. But anyway, you can find it on the internet. And in regards of Haley's Bible book, I have an older version where the chapter is still there. And then of course we have Walter Martin, which I found a lot of issues with Walter Martin, but one what is it called, booklet that is told that he never wrote, yet he did. And we also have that available now because of Wesley something. He put it on the internet as well. He had the material, so he put it on the internet, both in script and video. And then of course I have bought an older book of the cults, where it actually also is pointed out that is one of Walter Martin's. So clearly it was removed in the later versions. If you have a new version of the Book of the Cults, it's not mentioned. But if you go in I think it's the first edition, but at least it's one of the first editions. But it doesn't really say if it's the first edition or not, but I would think it is. But anyway, I'll stop now. May Jehovah bless you, and Yeshua be a most precious pearl, and be careful of Satan trying to take that pearl from you again. And may the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, be in us all. Amen. Let's try the best that we can do to stand for truth. The Reformers had issues. You can always find issues with, if you want to look for an issue, you can pretty much find it in every person out there. But the question is if the person is trying to do the best that he can do for, Anyway, with whatever he has been given, is he using that? Bye bye. Shalom.